Hey, help support the show by becoming a member on Patreon or YouTube. This is the best way to help me as a creator, and so thank you and go Cavs. The Cavs will probably never have a better chance at winning a title than next season, and I hate that it's because of injuries, but Boston, Indiana, and Milwaukee are almost entirely off the board now. I think Boston, it could be a little premature to write them off because we don't know what Tatum's recovery will look like. We don't know what the roster will even look like by next season, but all things considered, there's no denying that right now, there's just a huge void in the Eastern Conference, and the Cleveland Cavaliers are one of the teams that can take advantage of that. Really, any team that's healthy and deep enough this time next year could make it to the finals in the Eastern Conference. Like Detroit or Atlanta could just break through if a few things go their way. And I'm exaggerating a little bit, but the point is, in all seriousness, I don't think the Cavs will have a better chance at getting to the finals and potentially winning a title than next season. This team right now is already opening up with the second best odds to win the championship next season on FanDuel. They're right on the doorstep. Now, obviously, the betting odds aren't everything. We were favored in, I think, every single game against the Pacers in the second round this year. So I only bring this up because there's so much angst out there right now with the Cavs, and fans just feel like this roster has to be shaken up or torn down for them to have any chance of competing. And again, the betting odds, they don't mean that much, but I think they're worth mentioning because this team is set up for a championship if they're healthy. I truly do believe that. In fact, I will go down on the hill that this very season, if they had just been healthy, they could have won the championship. And that's not cope. I'm not taking anything away. Listen, all respect to the Thunder for winning, all respect to the Pacers for getting as far as they did. Indiana is definitely a better team than any of us imagined, but I do believe the Cavs are in that same tier despite how the season ended, right? Because look, guys got hurt. It's an unfortunate truth, but it is the reality. The Cavs, they were dominant all season long, all the way up until 4 of their 5 best players got hurt. If you looked at that through the lens of any other team, you would come to the same conclusion, which is, I don't know what to tell you. They weren't healthy. They got bit by the injury bug at the wrong time. And so, sure, this Cavalier team, it has weaknesses. I'm not denying that. The roster, it has limitations already baked into it with the 2 undersized guards and the 2 bigs. All that's true. We all understand that. But right now in the NBA, there's never been more parity. And I think we've seen, at least in the modern era, how important depth is and how there isn't any unstoppable giant that the Cavs just can't overcome, right? There's no super team to worry about. Oklahoma City, who just won the title and won 68 games, they were this great, incredible, historic team. They showed that they have a very flawed offense that looked downright ugly in key moments, and they looked vulnerable. They nearly lost this trophy. And so the point that I'm making here is that, yes, the Cavs have their weaknesses, they have limitations, but it's important to keep the full landscape of the NBA in mind when we're talking about this because there is no super team out there. Every single team has vulnerabilities. The Cavs have a roster, in my opinion, that is as good as anyone else in the league. Yes, again, they have their weaknesses, but I don't think that they are that much more vulnerable than anybody else. You'd probably still, if you were choosing, I would take Oklahoma City's roster. I'd probably take a healthy Celtics roster over the Cavs still, but outside of that, they're clearly in the mix when everyone is healthy as the one team or one of the teams that have star power in Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, Darius Garland, and a load of depth. They're one of the few teams that are able to do that. And that's the key, is keeping that depth and staying healthy because truthfully, we're lucky. We're actually very lucky that the Cavs left this postseason without any major injuries because again, you look at what happened to the other Eastern Conference teams, a team like Indiana, not only did you fall just short of being able to truly compete in Game 7 without your best player, but now you're looking at probably not having Halliburton for the entirety of next year. Same thing for Boston, Milwaukee to a lesser extent because they were already kind of out of that picture. But you get what I'm saying, right? Like we're lucky that the Cavs, sure, Darius Garland, he had the toe injury. He's going to miss all of the summer, but he'll be back by early season, right? Donovan Mitchell, who had a calf injury, thank God that didn't become something worse, right? We saw that happen over and over again in the NBA recently, and we're lucky that Evan Mobley is fine, right? Like he just tweaked his ankle, he'll be fine. So everything that I'm saying here is that the Cavs right now are in a fantastic position to compete for a title next season. And let's keep it real. If they can't pull it off, if they don't at the very least make the finals, in all honesty, then yeah, it'll be time to start cutting some losses and making drastic changes to this roster. I think we all agree with that. But I don't think right now is the time to start tearing things down because again, if they're healthy, I think they're right on the doorstep of winning a title. So we have to be careful in how the Cavs navigate this offseason. Now, as always, I always say this, if there's a trade out there that makes the team better, then yeah, you do it. You pull the trigger 100%. It doesn't matter if that means trading to Jarrett Allen, Darius Garland, whoever it may be. If you can make the Cavs better with a trade, then yeah, you make the trade. The problem has always been this: is what is that trade? Does it even exist? I'm not convinced, because so far I haven't seen it. I haven't seen any trade that, just in my opinion, that makes the Cavs better and is also, like, a little realistic too. It makes sense for the other team, because you can't, guess what? You can't turn off the sliders and just trade Jarrett Allen for Herb Jones. As much as we would love that, the Pelicans aren't doing it. So it has to work for both teams. And again, I just haven't seen a big trade that checks all of those boxes. And for this reason, this goes back to what I'm saying, is that because the Cavs are already knocking on the door, it's hard to shuffle the deck and not take a step backwards with the trade. It's hard to find a trade that makes your team better, because again, Cavs are already about as close as you can get. They already have a roster that is maxed out with two all NBA players, another guy who's an all-star, a fourth guy who's, on a good season could be an all-star, 2 6-man of the year candidates. I mean, it's hard to improve this roster. For as weirdly built as it is, they've kind of maxed out the potential that you can have for building a roster. And I also think, we move past the DeAndre Hunter trade very quickly in terms of the discussions and how we talk about Kobe Altman and whether or not this front office is willing to make trades. They made a move. That was their move at the deadline. This is the move that everyone was hoping for. They went and they added a wing without giving up any of the core four. It was a great trade. It was a really important move. And of course, if you can find another way to get more wing depth and restructure this team in a more traditional way that makes sense, then I understand why you would want to do that. And I would love to hear the proposal that accomplishes that. But simply adding DeAndre Hunter to the starting lineup next season, if they do nothing else, if they just re-sign Ty Jerome and add DeAndre Hunter to the starting lineup, and we get the same core running it back, getting a full year with him, I think is a big move that we've kind of glossed over. I think just that alone will make the Cavs a better team than they were last year. Right now, I would feel way less comfortable right now with the Cavs if they still had Karis LeVert and George Niang and no wing on the roster, but they did make that move. They went out and got DeAndre Hunter. So with all that said, there is a risk to staying put as well, right? There's a risk to making a trade, but there's also a risk to running it back. If they're healthy next season and they come up short, we'll be kicking ourselves for not making a move this summer. But I think the alternative there, which is making the wrong trade this summer, that would be worse than staying put and running into another wall with this team. Because if you make the wrong trade this summer, then you're handicapping yourself moving forward. And there are no takebacks on trades, right? If they miss on a trade and we realize, oh shoot, the grass wasn't actually greener, you're kind of screwed. You're kind of screwed for next season, and your window might have slammed shut before you even know it. And so you want to keep that championship window open as long as possible. You want as many bites at the apple as you can get. And in my opinion, again, I really think that championship window is open right now. So you don't want to mess around and accidentally close it on yourself. If this core doesn't get the job done, then we can go back to the drawing board next summer, because all those same trade proposals will more or less be available to you again. There's no reason to do this prematurely and make a trade just for the sake of making a trade. I don't think the team has their backs to the wall just yet. I would say that this is their last chance at proving something in the playoffs. And by the way, for anyone who says, oh, I don't care about regular season success, I don't care if they win 60 games again. Yes, you do. You do. Trust me, you do. Because if the Cavs only win 45 games next season, you're going to be pissed off. Rightfully so. But if they only win, let's say they win 51 games next season, we'd all still be wondering, what the hell happened? How did they take such a massive step back? That would suck. If they don't win, 55 to 60 games next season, we're all going to think something is going wrong. And last year really was a fluke. And this, it would be a bad sign, right? And so winning 60 games, we all know it doesn't guarantee anything whatsoever, but it's still good. It's still good to be a good team in the regular season, guys. I feel like everyone understandably had this emotional response to the disappointment of last season. And again, it's understandable, but you still want to be a successful team in the regular season. It is not a bad thing to be a good regular season team. I would say the Cavs, of course, have everything to prove in the playoffs, but they can and should be able to do that while also being a top 2 seed in the regular season, right? So how do they get their regular season success to translate to the playoffs is the discussion that we'll be having for the next 10 months. But for now, if you enjoyed my video, then please hit subscribe and drop a like. Let me know in the comments how you feel about the Eastern Conference being wide open right now. Do you think this core deserves to be the favorites in the East, or are they destined to fail no matter what? I really want to hear your takes. And by the way, I appreciate everyone who followed me this season now that the NBA year is officially over. With all that being said, go Cavs.